Hey everybody, what's up? This your girl Lola, and we here today on Lola's Chronicles, interviewing with Harriette Barron from Louisville, Texas. How are you doing today?
I'm great. It's hot in Texas, but I'm here.
I'm glad to have you on the show. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
I am an author and motivational speaker. I love working with all types of people. I'm a pastor's daughter, so I've been working with people from my first greeting, my first solo at age 2. Uh, Small church, father was a pastor. I've been secretary, youth director, praise leader. Whatever you got, I've served in that capacity with all types of people. And so I'm just a real people person and just glad to be here today.
So tell me more about you being an author. What kind of books do you write?
It's a great question. I write faith-based novels,
Mm.
never plan to write novels. My first book, however, is a biography. I was a victim of a kidnapping and sexual assault, which is my first book called Coffee Time with Daddy. And I
Mhm.
call myself the accidental author because I never even planned to be an author. I was just sharing my story with my class, and my teacher was so moved by my story of kidnapping and assault and how basically to rebuild from that trauma. Several ladies in my class had been through the same thing, had never told anybody. And hearing my story, they were just brought to tears. And my teacher, she says, "You need to write a book about that." And I said, I can't write a book about that. And I went home and began typing. The next thing I know, I had over 100 pages talking about my story, which is how I became an author of my first book and just continued writing.
Oh, that's big. Being kidnapped, that's a lot
Yeah, at
at
gun.
such a young age. And like more with your experience with that, how did that affect you like going forward?
I tell you what, I was my senior year in college. I'm excited. I'm going to graduate. I was planning to move to Houston. I had my life all planned out. And I tell you what, I met a stranger that had been stalking me for months. I had no idea. I had won a beauty pageant. I went to Sam Houston State University in Huntsville, Texas. And I had won Miss Mahogany that year. And that man had been stalking me that whole time. I did not know it. And
Man,
just befriended me, former law enforcement officer. Uh, I should have known. Former, there's a reason why he wasn't that anymore. And I didn't find that out till later. And really, it was just a setup. Befriended me in the student union building and invited himself to church. Found that I was a Christian, and you know, invited to church. And I thought, well, of course he wants to go to church. Well, that's great. And I often say, our parents say, never ride with strangers. We teach our children, and yet girls and women ride with strangers, people that we don't know. It can be a friend of a friend. It can be your sister's brother. People we just don't know that we ride with often. Oh, he's just going down the street. So here I am riding with the stranger. I'm an adult female, not even thinking it's just right down the road. Oh, I'll be okay. Never had a second thought as to my life truly being in danger. As evening progressed, the next thing I know, when it's time for me to go home, I'm in the car and I have this real bad feeling.
mhm.
People would call it intuition,
Yeah, you
but
get a
it's real.
feeling when something is
Yeah,
wrong. You get that feeling.
but we ignore it. How often do we feel it? We just brush it off as women. We just, oh, that's just me. I'm overreacting. I had a real bad feeling, but I couldn't explain it. And the
Mhm.
next thing I know, I said, can you please take me home? We took a left out of town, dark road toward an abandoned airport, and I knew right then I'm fixing to die. I knew immediately when he took that left. I knew I was gone. And the next thing I know, he's out the car with a gun to the back of my head and forced me to get out. And the rest just went downhill from there. He told me he was going to kill me, burn up my body, and all that. And
Oh
so
my
I
goodness.
could just visualize. I'm like, this is over. And so I began to pray, and I was like, Lord, I didn't get the signs, and I'm sorry. You look, when your life is at risk. If you ain't never talked to God before, y'all finna have a conversation right then. And we had a real quick conversation, and I prayed. And it's not a strange thing; it's a God thing. I was still held for 8 hours at gunpoint, and I was assaulted, and he was fixing to pull the trigger after the assault. And all of a sudden, he puts the gun down and he says, something changed my mind. I was gonna kill you. He goes, but something changed my mind. forced me back to the car and drove me straight to my dorm. Now I
God,
didn't tell where I
what another
lived.
God.
Thank you. And we never met at my dorm. I never told him where I lived. He took me straight to my dorm, which means he knew where I lived all along.
He was stalking.
I stalked him. And I made it out of that. God really strengthened me through the whole thing. But the other part of that is, of course, I filed a police report. There's injustice in our system. I'm a black, poor college student. My attorney quit. Uh, Never any support from the court system, no counseling, no therapy. I was offered no services, which is why I'm so passionate about social services, because I was offered nothing to make it through this trauma. And my parents didn't know how to help me. They were ministers, but they didn't know how to get me in counseling. We were never offered any kind of support. So I literally made it through prayer and Bishop T.D. Jakes, listen to his CDs about, Forever the Victim. I don't think so. I listen to that night and day. Girl, I just want to cry talking about that. Night and day, I'm just listening to this to help me get through this trauma, through this thing. It took me 2 years of just prayer and Bible reading and just going through that. I finally made it through that, but I went through self-hatred. I gained 70 pounds on purpose, trying to make myself just unattractive. I wasn't a cutter, but I would just pinch my skin and scratch it. So I went through some severe mental health trauma trying to get out of this skin because I hated it so. Trying to wash his hands off of me. I could feel his hands on me for months and trying to scrub it off, and my skin started bleeding. So someone going through a trauma like that really needs some strong intervention. I had nothing, but the grace of God, I made it through, and I'm
I'm
able to reach
I'm
back and
I'm
help others.
glad the fact that you're able to be here and tell your story on Lola's Chronicles, because you'll
Yes,
be surprised that the people that you meet, or even the people that you don't meet, the situation or what you can say in your words and your story, because I can
right.
understand parts of your story because of my own history and
Hmm.
things that I've been through. So being able to talk about it now with people and let them know they're not alone,
Right,
it takes a lot out of us, but it also, because when we're talking to people about what we've been through and the traumas, we're
right.
reliving it in that story in that moment.
Right.
You know,
Hey, you can make it. You don't have to be stuck there. A lot of us get stuck there, and then we break down when we try to get married or in a relationship. We're breaking down, and then it may come out when you have daughters. I have daughters. And if
yeah.
that's not resolved, that bitterness is going to transfer to my daughters. So it becomes a part of you. Your experience becomes a part of who you are. Now, for me, God bless me. I'm able to share the joy and the recovery of trauma. That's my whole message, is you can recover from anything you've been through. In all my writings, it just kind of leaks out.
So have you had people come up to you and tell you how your books helped them? Like
Yeah.
how does that make you feel that your story is helping somebody else?
It makes me feel it's a weird feeling. I'm not shy, but it's just like, wow, thank you. Like, I'm shocked. Um, my last novel I did, called By This Time Next Year. No, I'm sorry, The Wedding This Summer. It was a novel, and my sister is on dialysis, and so she
Okay.
gave it to her doctor. He loves to read. His wife had just died some years later, and the book is about a widow and her recovery and all the great love and loss that happens. And he read it, he gave it to someone else whose wife had brain cancer. And,
Oh yeah.
and when she read By This Time Next Year, which was the other novel, it's really, my main character starts off at one place, grief and loss. And by that next year, she's happy and she's rebuilding her life. And that lady told me, see, I just want to cry talking about it. That lady told me that book helped her with her battle with brain cancer, to have hope that maybe I could live another year. Maybe
It's gonna come back in. You'd be surprised at the situations and stuff that people go through, and you never would know because they smile and they keep going. Let's hope our service come back in the area. Come on, service. All right, come on back, girl. You'd be surprised at the things that people go through, and you don't know what people go through and what they experience. And long as you be genuine to people, because you never know their story, until you find out. And it's crazy. To her experience is just like wow. I would have never thought, that's crazy. Being kidnapped, I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine. Let's hope she comes back. If anybody would like to be interviewed with Lola's Chronicles, please email me at lolaschronicles@gmail.com. Let's get your story out there. Let's promote what you got going on. I'm with it. I'm definitely with it. I hope that everybody is having a good day. Hope everybody is having a good day. We having some technical difficulties. Bear with us. But like I said, you never know people's story. You never know. The devil is busy. He don't want us to talk about it. But we gonna talk about it. We just gonna talk about it. But like I said, anybody want to do one-on-one interviews, you want to tell your story, you want to get it out there, you want to be heard. If anybody has a business they want to promote, a book they want to promote, a song they want to sing, a talent they want to reveal, please get with your girl Lola. We can talk about it, discuss it on Lola's Chronicles. And you can hit me up at lolaschronicles@gmail.com. I'm taking all guests. There's no turning down. We can set up a time and get you going, okay? I lost my guest. She had me tuned in. This story is like, we might have to try to schedule this for later and get her on here. Thank you for those who was tuning in with us too. So I hope she could join back in. And I told her we could start right where we left off. You have any questions for her, you guys? If she comes back, you got any questions? Drop them in the comment section. Let's talk to Miss Barron. Okay, guys, I'm finna go try to find my guest. If y'all watching, make sure if you see the live, tune back in. Tune back in, okay? Because we're gonna get it together, all right?